What's up, gamers and collectors? Got another video for you today. One of my subscribers suggested doing a GameCube collection, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then following this, I will do the GameCube $150 buyer's guide. This is a system that's very accessible and tons of fantastic games to get for it. Just hundreds of, well, yeah, probably hundreds of good games, honestly. Lots of exclusives for it, from Nintendo, from just anybody, Capcom, Konami, everybody. But before I go ahead and do that, still wanted to remind you that at 120 subscribers, I'll be giving both these away. I just reached 51 today, so getting closer. That's pretty, it's not Boogie 298 numbers, but, it's cool that 50 people around the planet like to watch my opinions and recommendations and that kind of stuff, so... Alright, well, let's get cracking on this today. So at some point in time, I would like to get a full GameCube set. That and Wii U. I don't know why Wii U, I don't know, it's kind of like the oddball console that one day will probably be like the Saturn or, that kind of stuff where it could just be kind of cool to have the whole thing, and I'm pretty close to finishing the Wii U, and as you can see, I'm deep into the GameCube, but not anywhere near close. I think this is roughly about 100 or so games, but let's get that started. So right here we got 2004, 2005, 2003 on the PGA Tour games. These were all $1 a piece of Goodwill, so I was like, yeah, may as well throw them into the collection. I got this in a lot for $10. I got a GameCube, a Wavebird, 3 controllers. 2 of them were third-party pieces of junk, and then the GameCube itself was broken, but I mainly only wanted it for the fact that it had Luigi's Mansion, Sunshine, a Platinum Wavebird in it, a 1019 memory card, and it was all $10. The lady had no idea what she was selling, so couldn't really beat that. Let's see. Got Nickelodeon Unite, I think. So 99% of this does have manuals. I guess this one does. I guess all these do. I think I slowly upgrade everything to where it actually has manuals and stuff over time. 1080 Avalanche, so there was one for the 64 and one for the GameCube, and then Nintendo stopped making these. These were made by... I guess these were actually made by Nintendo at some point. Let's see, then we got Tony Hawk 3. Good game. This is the one where you could play as Boba Fett, I think. Played the hell out of that as a kid. This is probably one of my favorite 6th generation games as well, like on the same level of love as Burnout and Halo and that kind of stuff. SSX Tricky, just listening to this song, like if it ever comes on Pandora or on the radio, shit gets me pumped up, brings me back. Awesome game. If you don't own this, it's for PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. Absolute must buy, and it's not even expensive. It's like $10, maybe $15, but definitely worth picking up. Wave Race Blue Storm, good game. This took me a while to find. I try to find stuff locally, just mom and pops, antique stores, that kind of stuff, but it took me a while to find, but it was only $10, so another good game. This has really good graphics. I think this was a launch title, or very close to it. Got Tony Hawk 4. Awesome game. Played this even more than 3. Used to play this all the time. This one had, maybe this is the one that had Boba Fett in it. I can't remember, but definitely good games. This is before they went to shit. That was back when GameCube was cheap. This is the one SpongeBob game that is actually, not that the only one I've ever played, but this one plays a lot like Mario 64 in a way. Very good. Platformer, 3D. SpongeBob, can't go wrong. A lot of people hated on this game, but I actually enjoyed it. The 360 version is probably the best version to get, but or the original Xbox. GameCube looks okay. Some of the sound isn't as good just because of the mini DVDs and stuff. Kirby's Air Ride. This quickly became expensive. This is... So for my videos, I don't want to talk about expensive prices because I don't want them to go up any higher than they are for the rest of you guys, but this is definitely quickly rising in price. I think in Japan this was on the 64, then they ported it over to the GameCube. Either that or it started out as a 64 title, I can't remember, but really fun party game. I forget what the mode's called, but you go around this big city, and you just get power-ups and different vehicles, and you level your guy up, and then at the end there could be like a race or like all sorts of different things that you can do. These next two, everyone loves to hate on them, but these are some of my favorite GameCube games. I remember I stayed the week at my cousin's house when I was like 13, and this was like the first time I went to Blockbuster, so this is a long time ago for those of you who are too young to understand what Blockbuster is, but I rented this, and I played the crap out of it for a week. I was playing it so much that we literally forgot to eat. I got sick because we weren't eating because he was playing Halo too much, and I was playing this. We had 2 TVs set up. It was just, I guess it was just the times, the times and the memories, so that's why this really holds a special spot in my heart. So it is a good game. And Star Fox Assault, they tried, this was, I want to say this is Rare's last Nintendo game, at least for home consoles. So they built like half this game, and then the second half was, I want to say it was Konami, or, oh no, Namco. But yeah, both these are really good, and both actually really aren't too expensive, like 20 bucks. Let's see. We'll skip over that. Well, whatever, you already saw it. That Metroid 2, I was hoping they would be in order, but Metroid 1's in there at somewhere in there. Obviously, you know these are good games. And again, holographic cover. Gotta love it. And these two, also fantastic games. I love the Pikmin series, one of my favorite series of all time. One is really hard, I'm not gonna lie. I had to use an action replay to beat it just because it's too tough. Although, that was when I was younger, so maybe I'll give it another shot. I'd love to see them release like a collection for like the NX of all three, like in HD. That would be really great because Nintendo made that engine to port GameCube games easily, and they've only used it on Wind Waker and Twilight, so may as well get some use out of it. And these three go together, and you can all use the bongos on them. This is really fun. These are fun. These two are fun party games, but this is a really fun single-player game. You can also get this on the Wii, which I do have on the Wii, but the bongos are just way cooler, and the bongos are super cheap. I see the bundle pack with this, and this, 20 bucks all the time in box. So that is a very cheap thing that you can get for your GameCube collection. Then we got these two here, Burnout 1 and 2. Really wish they had made 3 for the GameCube, but it just wasn't powerful enough, supposedly, so either that or these didn't sell very well. Because these were Acclaim, and then EA bought out Criterion, who made these. And I think that was probably when Acclaim, fell to the dark side. Let's see here. WarioWare Mega Party Games. Haven't played this a ton. I got this not too long ago. Looks cool, though. This was a launch title and a very good game. I have the second one in here somewhere. So the third one, if you get this, you can play the full second game in co-op. So very cool. And then it also has dogfights and stuff. And this has, even though this was a launch title, this is probably the best looking game for the GameCube. We got Agent Under Fire and Nightfire. I used to play the crap out of these with all my friends. Just come over and just set up some, levels, and because these even have bots in them, so they're still fun to play today. I'd love using like the trip mines and all that kind of stuff. And again, that's how cheap GameCube was back in the day, before the price explosion. And that was 30. But yeah, Nightfire. Those are both multi-plats for all 3 systems. So if you can get them, go ahead and get them. They're really good. Custom Robo, another really good game. I remember buying this on a whim when I was younger, and I was like, it looked kind of cool. So this is a big series in Japan. It never got big here for whatever reason. I think this is the only one we've ever gotten here, which is unfortunate. This is actually still a really cheap game. I could see this shooting up in value at some point because it is sort of a hidden gem on the GameCube. So go ahead and snag this up soon if you can. And this was one of, when I got my GameCube, I got this, Sunshine, and Metroid Prime 1. And that was the best Christmas I ever had. Alright, so now we're on the second stack. I've played this on the Dreamcast and on this probably a good couple 100 hours. Fantastic games. I wish... So I think they were going to re-release them in America, but they never did. They did redo them and make them in Japan, but they never released them over here. Supposedly they're still going to, but we'll see. Animal Crossing, and so when you go to get this, try to get it with the memory card just because it's badass. And this is one of those games with that thick manual. I love that. Awesome game, definitely worth picking up. You could dump a couple dozen hours into this and have a blast with it. Get the roots of the series and all that stuff. Definitely worth owning. Ikaruga. This is probably, I want to say, the only shmup on the Gamecube. If there might be a couple more, but I don't know of them. This was a Dreamcast game, and then it got ported over to the Gamecube. A lot of people tout that Sega loved the Xbox a ton, but personally I think they gave the Gamecube way more support, and I'll get into that further into the collection. This is also another sort of hidden gem between the 6th gen. It was on all 3 systems. I believe for this, the PS2 actually is the worst running out of the 3. Xbox is obviously going to run the best. Yeah, cool game. It's an RTS, so kind of plays like Battalion Wars if you've ever played that, which also another good Nintendo game that they should bring back, but probably won't. And Soul Calibur 2, so I own it for the Xbox, PS2, and GameCube, and this is obviously the definitive version just because it has Link in it. But yeah, good stuff. Resident Evil 4, this was, in my opinion, the last good one in the series. 5 was pretty good, but 4 was just fantastic. 6 was pretty awful. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, really good game, good multiplayer, although you do have to use the GBA connection things. But if you ever have 3 friends over and they all happen to have GBAs, you can get the connectors super cheap. They're like $5 or less. And yeah, definitely a cool game. I'd like to see a sequel to this. I think they made a sequel on the DS maybe, or maybe the Wii. Actually, yeah, the Wii does have one, but you don't use the Game Boys, obviously. Speaking of RTSs and Battalion Wars, really good game, really cheap. The second one's on the Wii. These are, in my opinion, kind of hidden gems of Nintendo's IPs. So this is sort of the console version of Advance Wars, even though Advance Wars started out on the NES in Japan. Then it obviously came on to the GBA, but definitely good. Definitely worth owning. This was Nintendo's attempt to actually make a first-person shooter. Very good. The one gripe I have about it, using the C-stick for this is kind of annoying because it's not the best. I actually have a GameCube controller, and here's a little trick for you if you ever want to do this. You can actually swap the analog stick into the GameCube, or the C-stick spot, and then you'll have 2 normal analog sticks, and it works just the same, and it goes right in just the same. So if you ever have a broken GameCube controller, go ahead and throw that in there, then you got 2 normal analog sticks. I love this game so much. This has a fantastic campaign, music, good variety of weapons, good multiplayer. It has bots in the multiplayer. I just love this game so much. This is definitely a 6th generation hidden gem as well. And it is for all 3 systems as well. Also very cheap on all 3 systems. Beautiful Joe 2. I don't have the first one or Ready Hot Rumble. I just recently got into these series. Wanting them, but I want to play them in order, so I still got to track down 1, and I think Ready Hot is technically 2.5 or maybe 3, and they just didn't feel like calling it 3, I'm not sure. Chibi Robo, this is a pretty expensive game, I'm not going to lie to you. Really fun. So they released like a picture 3DS Chibi Robo game, which was weird, and then they released Ziplash. I supported the Ziplash just because I like Chibi Robo as a character. I'd like to see them make another one. Probably not going to happen now, but I would snag this now at the price it's at. It's reasonable, but it is a little pricey. Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. So I bought this right before the price hike, and I actually got the strategy guide with it too for very steal of a price. If you don't know much about this game, go into this game blind, play it in the dark. The graphics won't really scare you, but it is a really good, unique game. You can't get this experience anywhere else because it is only on the GameCube. Supposedly there was going to be a sequel for the Wii U, but it never happened. Maybe NX. Sonic Mega Collection. So this has an extra game in it, I guess. You might have to unlock it, I'm not sure. I have all these for the Genesis, so I never really play it on here. I just kind of got it to get it because it was cheap. A lot of people hate on this too. I enjoyed it. It's different. I like Shadow as a character. I think he's pretty cool. He's unique in a sense. He's like the angry Sonic. It's worth playing. Again, this is on all 6th-gen consoles, so definitely worth getting. Sonic Heroes. This was different compared to Sonic 1 and 2, or Adventure 1 and 2, which were some of my favorite games on the Dreamcast and on the GameCube. So this one, you're like 3 and you run around together. So you got Rose, Shadow, I forget I think his name's Biggs the robot. No, Biggs is the cat. I forget all these guys' names. And then you got Rose, and there's Biggs. And then obviously the main team. And these two. This to me is why Sega gave more love to GameCube than any other system. They let them have their big IP, who was their rival for the 80s and 90s. These are really good games. Get them on the Dreamcast cheap. Get them on the GameCube cheap. Definitely worth owning. Definitely worth playing. Sonic Heroes 3 was technically a sequel to it, but kind of not really. It's hard to say. Rogue Squadron 2. Good game. I remember renting this a lot from Blockbuster as a kid. SSX 3. I think this might be one of those games. No, I had the manual for that one. I am missing one for one game. I can't remember which one it was, but cheap game, good game. All 3 systems too. Tales of Symphonia. This was really expensive for a long time because it was only on the GameCube. They recently, well not recently, but a couple years ago they put it onto the PS3, and it's also on the computer as well. Definitely worth a playthrough. Not challenging, but it is time consuming, so this is one JRPG I actually did beat a long time ago, so good though. Beyond Good and Evil. Supposedly they're teasing a second one for the NX, hopefully, fingers crossed. I really don't care what it comes out for, I just hope it actually comes out. That would be awesome. Really good game. This is for all 3 platforms as well, and not too expensive, so I would recommend this. And I have this for the GameCube and the Xbox. I don't think the PS2 got the limited, but this is actually pretty rare for the GameCube. I've never seen it, and I never see it on eBay either. So whatever platform you get this for, it's definitely worth playing, and it still honestly looks really good today. Pokemon Coliseum. Not a bad game, not a great game, kinda in the middle, but kinda pricey, just because it says Pokemon on it. Too many games. Oh, here we go. Metroid 1, or Metroid Prime 1. This is probably my favorite game of all time, just because it was not one of the first, but probably the first couple dozen games I had played. This was in there, and just fell in love with it. Metroid is my favorite series, though. I will say that. Bust-a-Move 3000. This is pretty uncommon for a GameCube game. I love the cover on there. Really fun games. They're just, it's just a little puzzle game. And if you look close, you got the little bubble guy. I think there was 2 GameCube Harvest Moon games. They're kind of expensive-ish. Anything that says Natsume on it is going to be expensive, or one day will be expensive. That's just the nature of the beast. Mega Man Anniversary Collection. Really good game. These dropped a lot in price once they finally dropped the, what did they call the new one? I forget what they called it, but you know, they released it on pretty much everything except the Wii U. So these have dropped a lot in price. Good games though. And of course, no GameCube collection is complete without this. It's honestly a cheap game because I don't really know why. There's not that, I mean, there's probably 700,000 copies out there, give or take.